Hey everyone, guess what's coming up in April? It's the Sephora spring sale. Woo, 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 woo. I'm going to be doing a four-part, not eight-part, four-part series of recommendations that you might want to think about for the Sephora spring sales event. So first of all, let me get out of the way. You don't have to buy anything. No one has to buy any makeup. We just like makeup. So if you're one of those people that enjoys when the sale comes around and you're wondering what the best recommendations are, I'm here to help you out. I'm going to share in video number one, and this is from my own collection, products that I have actually tried. And I think they are true blue products that I can comfortably recommend as ones that are high performing for me. And I'll share my skin type in a minute. But we're going to start in video number one with what I call the base products. Your foundations, your powders, your concealers, your highlighters, your primers, your setting sprays, and I have one face palette. I think it's 37 products here in front of me. So I hope that you have eaten your meal and you got your cup of coffee or tea and you have drank water and that you have stretched, because this is going to be a long video for part one. In part two, I'm going to do color on your face products. So we're talking about your eyeshadow, your blush, your lipstick, mascaras and things like that, eyebrow products. That's going to be part two, video number two. In video number three, I'm going to be talking about some skin products. Big hint, I get most of my skincare from the drugstore because it's cheaper and just as effective. But I'll talk about a few products that I like from Sephora. I'll also talk about some tanning products that are fantastic if you're into that. And I'll be talking about brushes and also some fragrance recommendations that I think are worth looking at the Sephora site versus other sites. And finally, in part four, I'm going to tell you what's in my Sephora cart. So spoiler alert, what I'm recommending to you here is to make sure that you know what you want and that you have added it to your cart so that when the time comes for the sale, you can just press bing, purchase. Because the longer you wait and the more you dilly-dally and the more you stress about whether you should get something or not, the more chance there is that something is just going to sell out. I have had that happen to me quite a bit, and it's kind of depressing if you're looking forward to purchasing a specific product, especially if it's some of the products that you can only get at Sephora. So are we ready to get into it? Are you comfortable? It's going to be a long one. Let me first say, without getting into all the details, the sale is going to start on the 9th of April, and that is for what you call your Rouge members. Your girl is a Rouge member because I give Sephora a good chunk of change throughout the year. So these are tiered levels. The more you spend, I think if you want to be Rouge, you have to spend like $1,000 in a calendar year or more or something like that. I know, isn't that crazy on products? But you guys, we're talking hair products, we're talking makeup, we're talking skincare, we're talking perfumes, all sorts of stuff. VIB, which is the next tier down, is 15% off, and that starts on April 13th. So Rouge on the 9th, VIB April 13th, and then an Insider gets 10% off, and they start on April 15th. And these sales only go for a week at a time. So make sure that your cart is ready to go. The code is going to be OMG Spring. Oh my God, Spring. OMG Spring. And my best advice is make sure that you are ready. And I will also say some of the websites for the companies I'm going to mention actually run better sales. So you don't have to get some of this stuff from Sephora. Sometimes you're better off going to the actual cosmetic company and watching and getting on their mailing list because you get better discounts. For example, I'm going to mention some Pat McGrath products today. She does sometimes much better deals on her own site, up to about 30% off. And you don't have to have a certain amount of spending on her site to be able to get that discount. So word to the wise, Sephora doesn't always have the best sales, but if you are that person that just likes to load up your cart, it's like Santa's sleigh with all the fun products and you want to get it all at once, then I'm going to be your enabler. let's jump in. We're going to start with foundations. Actually, let's go in order that you might apply these things. That's probably better. And again, these are my personal recommendations, what I have found works for me. Have I tried every product in every category? No one has. But I've tried quite a bit, and I'm at the point in my makeup journey several years in where I am honing down to the products that I think are the best for me and that I know I can rely on. So why don't we start first with face primer? Okay, so I have 3 primers for your face to recommend. And let me say about my skin type. I promise to talk about that. I am 46 years old. My skin is in pretty decent shape, but I do have, by the way, texture along my cheeks, a little bit here and down on my chin. And I have very fine lines and wrinkles on underneath my eyes. You see what I mean? And then a little bit of crepiness on the eyelid. So keep that in mind as we're talking about products. I also have an oily T-zone. So in here it gets oily and a little bit through here. And the rest of it stays pretty, normal for most of the day. All right, so that said, I would recommend one of my top favorites of all time is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. Beautiful moisturizer with a really nice lemony scent. It's got some skincare benefits in there. There's shea butter, vitamin C, vitamin E. I don't really care about the skincare benefit. I have other products for that, but I like that this acts almost as like a double moisturizer for my face and then dries down kind of nicely to provide a soft canvas for makeup. I really like the Bare Minerals Primetime Original Foundation Primer. These all go on clear, by the way. This acts almost as like a silicone-y kind of base. I don't know that there's silicone in here, but that sort of thick gel sort of feeling that can help to spackle pores just a little bit, just the slightest. Nothing's going to take your pores away. Anyone that tells you that is lying. But there are products that help minimize the effect of large pores. And I have very large pores in my cheeks and in my nose. And so I like to use a primer like that. And I would also recommend the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. Really nice primer that doesn't leave grease behind and also just provides a soft canvas for the rest of your makeup. Let's move on. We're going to do eye primers. I have 2 and then sort of a cheap product. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm obsessed with the Becca Anti-Fatigue Undereye Primer. I've already hit pan on this because I use it every single day, just about, with very little exception. And how this works, it's a soft, like putty kind of consistency, really soft, that I use to spackle a little bit of spackle effect on the fine lines under my eyes here before I go in with concealer. Sort of think of it as like spackling that, you fix a nail hole in the wall and you use the spackle to smooth it out. It does the same thing for your under eyes. It's not a miracle product, but it helps significantly to me for the concealer to go on smoother. And I have 2 primers for your eyeshadow that I would recommend. One is the Anastasia Eye Primer. This is a tricky one because it goes on really white. So it kind of confuses people. You have to use only like the tiniest pinpoint. I don't want to do a whole like product demonstration thing because we'll be here, y'all, till tomorrow. But I'm talking like that. That will cover both of your eyes. You can literally dip your finger in something like that and just use it to cover both of the eyes. So it gives a really white finish to the eye area, particularly when you have a bright look that you really want to pop, like a bright blue, a bright green, even like a yellow look, bright orange. This is a nice one to give a really sort of soft white finish. And this is good even if you are on the darker skin end of the spectrum. Doesn't matter. This is going to be a nice background for your eyeshadows that you want to pop. And the other I would recommend is the Hourglass Veil Eye Primer. Really simple, nice eye primer. Doesn't gum up on me, goes on well. With any of these products, I recommend tapping out. Typically with your fingers. Some people like to use brushes. That's fine. I'm a big fan of using the warmth of your fingers to help the products do what they need to do on your face. So just kind of tap everything out into place. All right. Shall we move on? Let's get into some of the fun stuff. Next would be concealer. I like to put concealer on before foundation. I know some people like to do foundation first and then conceal, but my concealer choices, and I have, let's see, I have 4 here that I would highly recommend. And so, well, 3 and then 1 that if you want to feel adventurous. The Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. This is excellent. It is very skin-like. I have 2 colors. I have 2W and I have 3W. 2W when I want lighter and 3W when I want a more natural look like what I've got going on here. This feels very, very skin-like under the eyes. It goes on ever so smoothly. It's like butter. Not butter. You don't want to put butter under your eyes, do you? But the expression, like butter, it's very just smooth and creamy. And again, you want to tap out under the eyes. You guys, the best video I ever watched on concealer application is Robert Welsh. He is a UK-based makeup artist on YouTube. Check him out, Robert Welsh. Just look up his name plus concealer tips or hacks or whatever, and he will show you. He does a little dot on the inside, a dot on the outside, and then he recommends using the ring fingers to tap it out. Excellent techniques. You don't want to go in like crazy YouTubers doing the entire like triangle and patting that out, especially us ladies that have a lot of texture under the eyes. That's not going to work. I digress. Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. Absolutely excellent recommendation. Another diehard recommendation of mine is the Armani Power Fabric. This is an oldie but a goodie. I don't ever have problems with this, you guys. It's a nice thin formula. You can build it up. You can do 1 light coat to look super natural with just a little hint of coverage. You can do a second coat if you want some more coverage. It does not crease on me. It behaves well during the day. I love it. I would also recommend the Born This Way, the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. It's what I have on today. Another very smooth formula that doesn't gum up, doesn't give you problems, doesn't crease, just smooth as butter and really nice to use on other areas of your face. And I forgot a 4th fantastic concealer that I have to run and get because I would be remiss not to mention it. Okay. I just would not have forgiven myself if I didn't mention the Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealer. I have LM14 is my color, LM14. This is, you guys, this concealer takes the concealer game to a whole new level. It's right up there with my Power Fabric. Beautiful concealer, goes on smooth, no problems. It's like a second skin. Love this. And then my recommendation, if you want to be a little bit more adventurous, can be a little bit harder to play with, but I love it. And it's the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. It comes in a little pot like this. I will put all these names in the description box, I promise. It looks like that. It's a putty. You can see how stiff it seems. It's like a moussey putty kind of texture. And it's another nice one to pat out under the eye with a little bit of luminosity. Such a pretty concealer if you don't mind working with it a little bit. So that's the Kevyn Aucoin. Oh my God, I always forget the name. Sensual Skin Enhancer. Shall we go on? Let's talk about foundation and powder next. We have a bunch of categories here, but I have 5 recommendations, really 3, and then 2 that are kind of like sisters or cousins, if you will. Now, remember I said that Pat McGrath does her own sales. You don't have to get this on the Sephora sale, but if you're in the market and you don't want to wait for the next sale at the Pat McGrath website, her foundation, the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation, is perfection to me. Now, this has gotten some bad reviews on Sephora. I cannot imagine why. It isn't the most full coverage, so maybe that's a reason. It's at best light to medium coverage. You can, do a second coat for a good medium coverage. But what I love about this, and yes, it's stupid expensive. I can't help that. But what I like about this is it is so skin-like. And it really looks great in photos. It looks great in video conferencing. If you're one that's like on Zoom or GoToMeeting or Microsoft Teams calls all day long, like I am, it just performs really well and looks great on camera. Really fantastic foundation. I will not be without that. When that runs out, I'm going to repurchase. I have mine in the color light medium 14, just like the concealer, LM14. An oldie but a goodie. I had a hard time with this one at first, and it's the Estee Lauder Doublewear Stay in Place Makeup Foundation. And the reason I had a hard time is because I bought this early in my makeup journey, and it is super full coverage. I mean, this is going to blur you out, and it's a matte, and you need to moisturize well under it, or it will dry you out. So you want to moisturize, you want to let your moisturizer settle, and then you want to go in with this. And don't get crazy. Don't put on a lot, you guys. I'm telling you, get that little beauty sponge, get the excess out, dampen it is what I meant. Get the excess out, and then get a little bit of this on at a time. Play around with the consistency and the thickness before you go in all ham and just cover your face like a clown. You only need a light coat of this, unless you want to cover up, and I would recommend layering your coats of foundation. It's hard to beat this one, you guys. It's an OG for a reason. So that's the Estee Lauder Doublewear. Then there's the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation, another old school one. I mean, it's hard to beat these two. You know, the Pat McGrath one is newer, but these two are a little bit older on the market. A luminous foundation. As the name suggests, gives you a little bit of dewiness on the face without too much, and it stays put all day. It performs well. Another one that you don't need a whole lot of, just a nice, medium coverage kind of foundation. Love it. Another one that I have 3 of these, 3 different colors, and I will repurchase when those run out. And then maybe my very favorite foundation. I don't know that I have a favorite, but if I had to choose one today, don't ask me tomorrow and don't ask me about what I thought yesterday, just today. There's 2 of them, and it's the Laura Mercier foundations. I do have a beef with these, and that is that the little pump it's a pain. Like, it just malfunctions and kind of squirts out like psh. So I just kind of unscrew it and grab the stuff out of there. But so this is the Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Foundation from Laura Mercier, and this is the Flawless Lumiere Radiance Perfecting Foundation. The difference is that the Flawless Fusion is more matte. The Flawless Lumiere, as the name would suggest, is more illuminating on your skin. Illuminating? Is that a word? It makes your skin look more dewy. I like to mix these two. This was my wedding foundation, both of these together. I have different colors. This one is 3W2. It's a little golden and dark for me, but in the summer it works well. And then I have Tawny 4 Warm 1.5, 4W 1.5 in the Flawless Fusion, the more matte one. This one's a little too light for me. This one's a little too dark. It's nice to mix them. These are not talked about on YouTube, and I don't understand why. They are fantastic foundations. Let me keep going so that I don't have a 2-hour-long video. Powders. Another wedding product, the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder. Really beautiful, compact, nice thin formula. It comes like that, where you can dip your brush right into this hollowed out thing. Love this. Great all over face powder right here. If you like to bake, I don't like to bake, but I do use this as a light coating in my T-zone. Very, very light. It's the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder. Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder. I have pound cake and banana bread. They smell really great. If you like a lot of scent in your product, this is for you. If you don't like fragrance, skip these. You will hate them. But it's nice. It's a little bit of a thicker powder, so I would not recommend it if you don't want to emphasize texture. But it does a nice job of laying down your fine foundation, setting it, which is what the word setting refers to. The Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. What a long name. I have medium and I have light. Light looks like that. it doesn't look like that on the face. It's nearly white in the pan. It's kind of translucent actually on your face. And then the medium is a bit more skin tone. These are excellent. You can use these as all over face powders. You don't have to just use them under your eyes, but they do really well under the eyes, a really light coat, and they work particularly well with the Pat McGrath concealer. And I also sometimes put this in my T-zone as my face powder. Absolutely fantastic. Do not plan to be without these. And these sell out fast, so if you see them, get them. And then I would also recommend the Hourglass, any of the powder sets, the powder compacts. This one is called the Ambient Lighting Palette. It's a bit of an older one, and I think it's still for sale. I'm pretty sure it's still for sale on the Sephora site. It looks like that. You can use these a little bit as like a glow powder, but they're mostly for final finishing powder. So you might want to run a big powder brush along there and just finish off your look with that really lightly around the edges. And it kind of helps to blur your whole look together and give just a slight bit of luminosity to your face. These powders cannot be beat. They cannot be beat. Let me say this. I know that Hourglass has faced a lot of controversy in the makeup community for their lack of diverse colors, deservedly so. So by no means do I diminish that argument. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to tell you about the products that work on me. This is one of them, okay? But if you want to look up that other controversy and make up your mind about whether you want to support Hourglass or not, that is totally up to you. I respect that. I like Hourglass and I love their products. Really, really finely milled powders. Fantastic. Let's keep going. What's next? Let's talk about, oh my God, I forgot one of the classic powders, and that's the Bare Minerals. And this is actually a foundation. You can use it a little bit as a powder, but it's more of a foundation. And that's the original Bare Minerals foundation. Broad Spectrum SPF 15. This is in neutral medium 15 is that color. I think I have another one that's just like a medium. I have two of them, two different colors. You guys, if you like powder foundations, it's kind of hard to beat the original Bare Minerals one. Really nice. And you want to get yourself a nice buffing brush for this. I will have that recommendation in the video that's going to have the brushes. Let's go on. Let's talk about bronzer. My favorite category. If I had only one product in my collection that I could hoard or keep, it would be bronzer. Because you can do a lot with bronzer. You can do a crease shade, you can do cheek, you can contour your face with bronzer. I know you're not supposed to. You're supposed to use a cool toned contour product. I understand. But in a pinch, you can contour with bronzer. You can even mix it with like a balm and make a lip product out of it. It's an all-in-one. I love bronzers. So there's so many here. Why don't I start with one of the OGs, and that's the matte, the NARS Laguna Matte. The color is Laguna, and it looks like that. I don't have that on. I don't know why I just did that. Sorry. But it's a nice warm brown color. Hard to go wrong with any of the NARS bronzers. I don't love that the packaging gets all kind of gross with color on it. The Hoola Benefit bronzer. This is a matte bronzer. I don't love this packaging. It's really goofy and it's hard to find a place for it in my vanity, but it looks like that. Again, a sort of, is it cool toned? It's kind of neutral cool toned with, well, it does have a hint of warmth, so I don't really know. I just know I like it. This is the smaller pan. If I repurchase this, I'm going to get the big jumbo one because this packaging makes it hard to get a big brush in there, which is aggravating and just really like an amateur packaging move on the part of Benefit. Benefit, get your packaging together. But the powder in here is fantastic. If you want something a little more luxe and bougie, I don't care if it is or not. I'll use dollar products. I'll use $100 products. I just need to like it and need to know it works. But this is the Gucci Poudre de Beauté. I think that's how you say it. Eclat Soleil bronzer. Look at this packaging. Very I'm trying to say Tiffany. Very Tiffany-esque. But I came out with very Tiffany-esque. Gucci. Here's the color that I have, which is 3. I think it has 3 colors or 4 colors. This is sort of the more medium one. I think a step up from medium, actually, which I really like. Great compact. It comes with, I don't know why companies do this. You know, they do this whole compartment thingy and they have the little brush. You can see it's still in the plastic. I don't use this thing. I don't know why they bother with that. But that's the Gucci bronzer. Moving along. Look at this ginormous compact. Now, I think there's only a mini of the Tom Ford Ultimate Bronzers on there. And I think the color they're selling is called Terra. This is a super expensive bronzer. So make sure you're into bronzer and you know what you're doing if you add this to cart. The one that's on there is going to be smaller, like that kind of size. But if you can find these Tom Ford bronzers elsewhere, definitely get them. This is in the color Gold Dust. This is a super luxe bronzer. Check this out with the Tom Ford stamp. And it's got like a texture to it, stamped into it. I really love these. Beautiful, go on really well. They come in these little like pouches, velvet pouches, which I think is a total waste. You just get them dirty. Like I'm already getting fingerprints. Oh, you know, you got your hands full of powders and stuff. It's just silly. So anyway, beautiful bronzer. And then of course, you're probably tired of hearing of this brand, but the Hourglass bronzers are kind of hard to beat. They're really beautiful. I have one in Diffused Bronze Light and Radiant Bronze Light. So here's the Diffused, and this is the Diffused, and this is the Radiant. The tricky thing is how it looks in the pan has nothing to do with how it looks on your skin. They typically will marble their powders like this, which I think is really quite beautiful. And they're in these sort of baked designs where it's kind of puffed up. These are so finely milled, so pretty. They have a little tiny bit of luminosity in them, like a little bit of radiant powder to give a little bit of extra shine to the face. Not a lot, but these are beautiful bronzers. They're subtle, they're elegant, they're pretty. They're not really like harsh bronzers at all. You can build them up. They glide on well. They're just so high performing, you guys. Love the bronzer blushes. So that's it for blushes. And let's talk then about highlighters, and then we're going to do setting sprays, and then one face palette. Are we doing okay? Are you hanging in there? Did you need to refresh your coffee? Please press pause and go do that. I really only have one highlighter recommendation. There are a lot of good ones. I, for example, would like to buy the Natasha Denona, whatever that's called, the new highlighter that's in the rectangular pan with the print on it. And I would love to try the Charlotte Tilbury one too. It's a huge, huge pan. But, you know, the Hourglass highlighters that come in, not like this, but the other palettes that have the blushes in them too, like the Ghost palette, the Sculpture palette, those highlighters are fantastic. They're finely milled, really subtle. You can use them as eyeshadow. You can put them in your brow bone. You're not going to go wrong with those, and you're not going to look clown crazy or like you're trying to like beam out to the heavens with your highlighter. You're going to look subtle and pretty. But I would like to say the company that is going out of business, and that's Becca. I have a ton of Becca highlighters, and I didn't look to see which ones are on the Sephora site, but they are on there. One of the most classic ones, and that got Becca her original fame. I don't know if it's her. I assume that there's a woman named Becca that runs the company. Does anyone know? Or is it her daughter? I don't really know. Anyway, Becca. Champagne Pop is what put Becca on the map in terms of its highlighters. This is in special, like, limited edition packaging or whatever, but you get the idea. This is such a pretty, look at that. That already beamed me up. Beam me up, Scotty. Just, okay, I did a little too much. Sorry, y'all. Beautiful, beautiful highlighter. Champagne Pop. I've got one of the darker ones. Don't be intimidated by this. You can have a lot of fun with this highlighter. This is Chocolate Geode. Don't think because you're lighter skin you can't use a darker highlighter. That's crap. Just try it out. Have fun with it. And if you want like a super bronzy look, this can be part of like your entire cheek look. You can put this on your lips too. Let's see. Yeah, why not? Boom. There went the lips. Just took the lip to another level. Or you can use it as eyeshadow. Really pretty. Chocolate Geode. I also have Topaz, which looks like that. It's like a lighter color than Chocolate Geode, but still on the darker side. I've got Moonstone, which is this little tiny one here. Really light color, almost white. I have Opal, which looks like that. It's more on the silvery side, I have Topaz. I talked about Topaz. Did I talk about Topaz? Did I tell you guys about Topaz? I did. And I have some other highlighters in my Becca haul that's somewhere in a box over yonder. That because they're going out of sale, I went ahead and purchased some of my favorite products from the Becca site. So you can go to Becca and get the products, or you can go to Hourglass. All right, I think we're rounding things out. We're gonna do setting spray, and we're gonna do one face palette that I highly recommend. Setting sprays. Some people don't believe in setting sprays, just like they don't believe in face primers. I enjoy the setting spray experience. I feel like it's hairspray for your face, and it just helps to keep everything in place and settled. So one that I have enjoyed, I don't know that I will repurchase this myself, but I do think it is worth what you pay. None of these products, by the way, are cheap. Okay, Sephora is not selling cheap products, and by cheap I mean inexpensive. I don't mean ineffective. There's a difference. Inexpensive, because you can get very effective, affordable products at Ulta and the drugstore just fine. But we're not here to preach about product price. The Hourglass Veil Soft Focus Setting Spray has been a go-to. This bottle here, I'm just on the back end. I've had it for so long, so many months, and it's like I can't run out of it. This is the Energizer Bunny that keeps on giving. It does leave a little bit of a luminous sheen. Some people feel like it's a little oily. I don't get oily on my skin from this, but I do get a little bit of luminosity, and you have to give it a chance to dry down before you touch your face, okay? So that's that. This will last you forever, and you need to like a little bit of shine, not a lot. It doesn't go crazy. A little bit of shine on your face. The Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray is fantastic. Heavily fragranced and very much like hairspray for your face, for sure. Like it kind of, you can feel your face tightening up a little bit when you spray this on. Highly recommend that. And then of course the classic Urban Decay All Nighter that everyone raves about. Really great setting spray as well. And then finally, my one face product, like a face palette that I would recommend. Some of the ones that I really like are sold out on the Sephora site, and I hate that. But this Smashbox Cali Contour Palette is still available. It looks like this. It comes with a mirror and everything, but it looks like that. And it's got some, it's got a bronzer, a contour, a blush, another light contour, because contour can be a light powder too, right? Let's see. How we do? Oh, that's not the one. This one. Okay, I went a little crazy there. But yeah, you can already see that just lighten things up ever so slightly. Anyway, you get the idea. And it's got two highlighters here in the middle. This is a great palette to travel with, you guys. This is an all-in-one face palette. You can use these for eyeshadows, cheek, contour, face powder, the whole bit. It's not a miracle product, but it's darn good for what it is. And it's nice to get it on sale at Sephora. So that's the Smashbox Cali Contour Palette. Woo! So that was part one of the video. Remember, part two is going to be the fun stuff like the eyeshadow, the blushes, your lipsticks and all that. So we'll get into that. Part three, skin, tanning products, brushes, and fragrances. And part four, it's going to be, I'm going to show you what I'm buying, what I'm spending my money on at Sephora. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And let me know which of these products appeal to you. Plan on buying any of these? Drop me a note in the comments. Thanks so much for watching and spending 33 minutes of your life with me. I appreciate you. Take care, everyone.